All right, let's talk the 5 biggest player decisions the 49ers need to make here at this 53-man cutdown as we take a look at San Francisco City Hall. Nice drive with Casper. He's doing a good job. And now the 49ers have to do a good job as they try to cut down this 53-man roster. Drew Moss tops my list. This is the one that everybody seems to be talking about. Rookie offensive lineman out of Colorado State. Had an awesome block on Jeff Wilson Jr.'s touchdown against the Chargers. The problem is that Drew is still developing as a pass protector, is still developing as an NFL player. In fact, when he came out of Colorado State, the measurables suggested that this might be a center at the NFL level. And center is a position that's extremely cerebrally demanding. You don't expect a rookie to be able to go in there and succeed in Kyle Shanahan's system. And I think that the 49ers are really going to value center backup adaptability on their 53-man roster, which means that Nick Zakelj might have an inside track. Even if Moss has played better at guard, and it's hard to gauge too because Drew Moss has been playing typically against third-string competition, whereas Zakelj has been going against 1s and 2s. But even if Moss has scored out better at guard, and that's something that I've saluted him for. He was one of the 49ers' top 5 graded players in the preseason. But the 49ers are going to have to build this roster around adaptability in case Jake Brendel goes down. You have to have a backup center on the team. So Moss is a massive question. I think the 49ers would love to get him back on the practice squad. Maybe they're team scouting elsewhere says this guy's going to get poached, and they don't want to see him get poached if they do waive him. So maybe they do create an extra 53-man roster spot for Drew Moss, but this projects as one of the toughest decisions of the coming 49ers cut down. We're going to stay on the interior of the trenches for this second one. Sebastian Valdez, the Hulk, the guy who put up 225 pounds in the bench press 34 times. I led my post-game video, the morning after video, with the Sebastian Valdez anecdote. It was him and it was Evan Anderson just pushing the interior line backwards to set up Nick Martin's forced fumble. It's exactly what the 49ers want to see out of their defensive tackles. I thought that Valdez was energetic throughout all of preseason. I thought that he grew in consistency. I thought that the way that he was able to pursue sideline to sideline was unusual for a defensive tackle, and we already know that he's got great strength at the point of attack. So if you can match strength with speed and then obviously mix in the requisite hustle, you can be a successful NFL player. And I think that Sebastian Valdez has made a very good case. The reason this is going to be a tough decision is, again, because of numbers. Will the 49ers carry 10 defensive linemen? If they do, then there's a spot for either Valdez or for a defensive end like Robert Beal Jr. or even for Trevis Gipson, who is actually the 49ers' highest graded defensive player by PFF throughout the entire preseason. Gipson was really, really good in the finale against the Chargers. But so was Valdez. I just illustrated a play that Valdez made that helped generate a turnover. It's going to come down to how many defensive linemen the 49ers take, and then on top of that, a decision about which position they want to take for that 10th spot, if that 10th spot is something that ends up existing on this 53-man roster. Remember, so much of this is going to depend on the 49ers' intel that they collect around the league. They've got people working on this elsewhere, studying other teams' rosters. And if they feel that a defensive tackle is more likely to clear waivers than a defensive end, then Sebastian Valdez might be more likely to end up on the 49ers practice squad instead of somebody like Robert Beal Jr. Trevis Gipson, meanwhile, is a vested veteran, so maybe they can run an IR maneuver with him, meaning Trevis Gipson doesn't make the initial roster, but they bring him back after somebody else is placed on injured reserve because the 49ers may need a couple of those spots beyond the 2 return from IR designations. It's all a game of Tetris, right, that the 49ers are going to be playing with this 53-man roster. Then there's the cornerback position, which I find to be one of the most fascinating roster number quizzes that the 49ers are going to have to solve here over the next 48 hours. Darrell Luter Jr. and Dallas Flowers battled throughout training camp and the preseason for the third outside cornerback spot. And it seemed that Dallas Flowers was in the lead for the vast majority of that time. I thought Darrell Luter Jr. made a couple good plays for the 49ers against the Chargers, and I think that it's easy to see why they would want to keep him around. He's got very long arms. He's got good athleticism. He's one of those corners, you could see how he's built physically, and you'll say, well, Robert Saleh is going to really, really like the space that he can eat up. Dallas Flowers is more experienced. He's a guy with starting experience under his belt, played for the Indianapolis Colts, and obviously suffered the Achilles injury that set his career back, and now he's hungry to reestablish himself in the NFL. So both of these players bring something to the table, and at a certain point you ask, maybe the 49ers are willing to carry both of them on the 53-man roster. The wild card that changes the dynamics here, though, is Chase Lucas. This is an uphill ride. Up Russian Hill, by the way. Might be an uphill battle for the 49ers to figure out exactly which cornerbacks they're taking. But Chase Lucas yesterday, in one of the most interesting developments of the final preseason game, lined up exclusively at outside cornerback. If you'll remember, the first two preseason games saw Chase Lucas line up exclusively at slot cornerback. That was his position for the Detroit Lions. On top of that, he's a big special teams guy. The 49ers saw him play extremely well at inside cornerback, and then they said, okay, we're going to throw him in full game at outside cornerback against the Los Angeles Chargers. And I thought that Chase fared fairly well for himself. He wasn't as good as he was on the inside, but to me it was an experiment for the 49ers. I think that they wanted to see how Chase Lucas could hold up at outside cornerback so they could gauge their confidence level in him potentially backing up at outside cornerback. Because if Chase Lucas is capable of giving you good reps on the outside, maybe you only have to take one of Darrell Luter Jr. or Dallas Flowers. Maybe you don't have to take both of those guys, right? Because Chase, the way that he played in the first two games, especially given the fact that Upton Stout's calf has been a concern here over the past couple of weeks, it's going to be really hard to keep Chase Lucas off the 53-man roster. I mean, also consider the fact that he's a great gunner, solid special teams player, but the way that Robert Saleh was blitzing him, some of the pass breakups, the interception that we saw from Chase Lucas, the film study that he showed when he was watching all those cut-ups from Robert Saleh and his staff, all this stuff was eminently impressive. So is Swenson's ice cream. I always shout them out when I go by. The Turkish coffee ice cream at Swenson's is the real deal. By the way, I've got the deli board hoodie on today. Don't know if you guys saw this one. Got sandwich of the day. Today it was from Reyes on Valencia, but deli board Adam doing a great job. He's got the saloon font on his sweatshirt, which is awesome. Alcatraz, straight ahead. We're on our way. And we're talking about Chase Lucas, Darrell Luter Jr., and Dallas Flowers and how this all might work out. But with what Chase put on tape throughout those first two preseason games, it would be surprising at this point if he did not make this 49ers 53-man roster. The problem is that if you've got Chase and you've got Darrell Luter Jr. and you've got Dallas Flowers on the roster, you're dealing with a situation as the 49ers that has 7 cornerbacks, and they've never taken 7 cornerbacks on the team. And if they're trying to conserve roster space, that could be an exception that they're just not willing to make this year. Oh boy, we're blazing by the Tesla. Going straight downhill here on Hyde Street. Feels like a 45-degree angle. Beautiful day on the bay. Of course, there's some white caps. It's going to be a little bit of a cold swim, but we do have nice views of the Golden Gate. So I'm very curious to see how the 49ers do handle that cornerback situation, and I do think that the way that Chase Lucas was used in this final preseason game on the outside was an experiment for San Francisco. Look at us. Look, we slowed down. We're making sure people here don't get run over as they get off the cable car. You got to love the way that Casper operates cautiously down the streets of San Francisco. Finally, tough decisions abound at receiver, and I know that we talked about this yesterday, Tim's article saying that the 49ers are considering placing Juwan Jennings on injured reserve if this contract stalemate is not settled, because obviously the calf is an issue as well. So IR is a possibility there. That would eliminate the first 4 games for Juwan Jennings. If those first 4 games are eliminated, well, then the 49ers are probably going to have to carry another receiver on the 53-man roster. Would it be somebody like Robbie Chosen? Would it be Isaiah Hodgins? Those are both veterans who are currently on this team who I think would be great practice squad candidates to flex up. But if Jennings isn't available, I'm only counting 4 wide receivers on this 53-man roster if IR is indeed the play for Juwan. And if that's the case, then you have to pick which one of these veterans is most worthy of that 53-man spot. On top of that, you also have to remember that this coming roster cut down means that the 49ers might not be done making moves. They could pick up somebody from waivers, maybe even another trade is a possibility for the 49ers. And that throws a big, big wrench into our analysis of everything. It shows us that the next few days are probably going to be wild. I mean, we could talk about Drew Moss and Sebastian Valdez and Trevis Gibson all we want, but I think that lights, camera, action, that's going to be on this wide receiver position. They've settled running back with the trade for Brian Robinson Jr. They definitely didn't settle receiver with the trade for Sky Moore. He's more of an extra gadget weapon and a special teams guy for the 49ers. It eliminates the Junior Bergen question on special teams. But as far as receiver goes, Juwan Jennings is the big hinge point for the 49ers, and the possibilities might soon be increasing in quantity. That's what happens when close to 1,200 guys get cut around the NFL. All right, Casper has brought us to our location. There's the South End Rowing Club. There's the Dolphin Club. Big day for the 49ers. They practiced today just ahead of some major, major roster decisions. They will not come easy.
I sure do. Yep. I remember Kasim. I think it was Kasim Osgood who gave me the ball. Still got it. That was, like I said, I mean, I remember that. I remember the 2013 game at Candlestick, the last one there, the last one I coached in Candlestick, the Navarro Bowman running down the sideline. I mean, I was like a pig in slop. I was the happiest, I've been. That was a good. I mean, a lot of like top 10 type of things happened in my life here.